Hey y'all, Nick here. It is March 28th when I'm filming this, and it's a lesson for the week of March 27th through April 2nd. My apologies, I'm a day late in getting this out. I try to get these out on Wednesdays, and yet today's Thursday, so I'm sorry about that. We are going to spend today's lesson reviewing follow-up from last week's lesson. Last week, you can see here, we started a little unit on puberty. The reason for that is because this is human development class. How do we not talk about puberty? We spent time looking at like success and adults and what adults are doing later on in their life to define success. We started early with personality and genetics and nature versus nurture. Now I think it's crucial that we take a few weeks, including last week and this week, to talk about puberty. It's not a very fun subject. It's a subject that even now as you're listening, you might have some horror stories from. You might look back at middle school and times of puberty with horrible memories. Maybe you loved puberty. I don't know. Maybe you loved middle school. Everyone's different. But it's really important that if we're going to serve the population of adolescents in our world well, we need to understand puberty. We need to understand what they're going through. So I had a fun little video, the Talking About Puberty video. You did an article response. If you haven't done that, you need to do it very, very soon. Don't want to wait forever for that. And then social emotional learning in puberty. So this is a good article on how social emotional learning is affected by puberty. Now, this week, I want to talk about the brain during puberty. So I've created this note sheet. I'm going to give you a student copy. As long as you get your student copy open right now and then take notes with me as I speak, you can turn it in at the end of this lesson for points. It'll be that simple. You do the student copy while I do this copy, you'll be ready to go. So we're going to talk about the brain and puberty. We're going to go a little bit into neuroscience, but not too deeply into neuroscience. And I want to provide some background information, some information about the neural networks during puberty, some hormone things, and we'll go from there. So let's get into it, y'all. Take notes with me. Otherwise, you'll have to go back and do this again. Take notes, please. Turn it in, please. That's how you get points. Background info. The human brain experiences two growth spurts. The very first one, the first growth spurt the human brain goes through is a prenatal growth spurt. Okay, this is around 2 to 4 months in utero. The brain is developing so unbelievably rapidly. Right, so this is at the point in time in which in the womb a person is getting a physical body at this point, and one of the very first things that is developed is the brain. And the brain will grow massively over the course of months. This is how when you see a picture of a baby in utero, it's all head, right? It's all head. Because the brain is one of the first things to grow, and it grows fast. Human brain experiences two growth spurts. The second growth spurt that the brain experiences is during puberty, right? When someone is roughly 10 years old to 14, depends on the person, depends on the gender, all of that. But a person will, when they go through puberty, have a second brain growth spurt. I don't know if this is common knowledge or not. Yes, you have a physical growth spurt in puberty. Your body grows quickly, rapidly, right? But your brain is actually experiencing a monumental growth spurt and changing period time during puberty. And that's what we're going to talk about today. This growth spurt, the pubescent growth spurt, is actually incredible. I think this might be one of the reasons I love middle school so much. It's actually incredible. It's marked by, let me use these. The pubescent growth spurt essentially takes a person from being able to think in patterns and in repetition and begin complex, logical, critical thinking. Okay? That's what this growth spurt's marked by. Rather than just repeating patterns or doing basic thinking, all of a sudden in middle school, during puberty, your brain grows so much, so quickly, so well, that all of a sudden you can think critically, think complex thoughts, think abstractly, right? This harkens back to something we did earlier, which is Erickson's 8 stages of development, Piaget's 5 stages of development, where all of a sudden people are thinking abstractly at age 12, right? Piaget wasn't a neuroscience. He didn't know that puberty was the onset of this. But all of a sudden, at around age 12, kids can think abstractly. He noticed that. He turned it into a stage of development, right? The world is no longer just black and white. It's no longer just cause and effect. All of a sudden, there's abstractions and logic and profound thinking that they can do. Okay, so how does this happen? How does our brain go from this very basic organ that just takes in information and repeats it to this incredibly complex organ that is able to have intense thought, intense emotion? How? It's a great question. Glad you asked. How does the brain experience a growth spurt that is world-changing? Well, a few things. During puberty, the brain begins to secrete many more hormones that promote neurogenesis and neuroplasticity. Okay, let me define these terms. Neurogenesis, simply the creation of new neurons. That's simple. Cells split. You know that from 4th grade. A cell splits, whether it's a flower that splits to create more leaves or a human body that's splitting to create more cells of the digestive system cells or the arm hair cells or whatever you want to talk about. Cells have a moment in time where they have enough, they're rich enough in lipids and fat that they go from one cell to 2, they split. And that's called neurogenesis when it's a neuron. Remember, a neuron is just a cell. We're going to get to that in just a moment. But neurogenesis is promoted during puberty, right? Our body is taking in what we eat and secreting lipids and fats, fatty acids in our brain, omega-3s, that are causing these complex amino acid chains to give our cells enough fat compounds to split more frequently. We have more neurogenesis. We also have more neuroplasticity. Oof, spelling. Here's what neuroplasticity is. Neuroplasticity is the ability for cells to repair and, wow, look at that grammar, to repair and connect more readily. Okay? So in other words, your brain is creating more neurons, and these neurons are very, very capable of connecting. It's called synaptic connection. Okay? The cells that your brain is creating through neurogenesis during puberty are eager to learn. Okay? They're eager to connect. Your synapses in your brains are going, teach me, teach me, teach me. I want to learn, right? You have literally a programming function in your brain that goes at puberty time, you're going to learn. Okay? Puberty is a time of rich learning potential. Doesn't feel that way though. We're so concerned, we get so bogged down with social, emotional difficulties that we don't really realize that a 7th grader can learn incredible things. Their brain is ready to learn. Synaptic connection, easy. The synapses of the brain, which we're going to get to in just a moment, just want to work together. The ability for the brain to develop complex neural networks, typo, it's heightened. And I can tell you why. It's all about fat. It's all about lipids. It's a nutrition thing at the end of the day, really. But you don't need to know all that. All you need to know is that the pubescent brain wants to learn. The pubescent brain whoopsies. Autocorrect. The pubescent brain wants to learn. Hormonally, you are essentially, and I truly mean this is not a figure of speech, hormonally speaking, the pubescent brain is on steroids. A 12-year-old brain during puberty is literally on learning steroids. I truly mean that. That is not a figure of speech. Steroids are hormones. When someone does steroids for a bodybuilding contest or whatever, they are taking a hormone and putting it in their body. We call it a steroid. But a steroid is a hormone. Okay? Your body already does this naturally. When you are in puberty, your body is going steroids. Secrete this hormone. Specifically speaking, the human body is going to secrete the hormones testosterone and estrogen more readily during puberty. Okay, that's why physical growth is accompanied with puberty. Those are human growth hormones, HGHs. They're androgenic, right? Which is getting at the idea of their human building. Okay, it's what people typically take if they're bodybuilders and on steroids. At the exact same time, though, you guys, it's not testosterone or estrogen, but the pubescent brain is secreting massive amounts of fatty acids known as serotonin and known as dopamine. And these fatty acids, serotonin and dopamine, are readily causing brain synapses to connect. It's crazy. So, your brain is literally on steroids when you're in puberty. It's ready to learn. But just like a weightlifter, if you're a weightlifter and you're taking HGH and you don't go to the gym, nothing's going to happen. In fact, negative things will happen to your body, but the positives won't. You won't get jacked. It's the same thing. The 12-year-old brain is on learning steroids. If it's not being used, nothing happens. That's a shame. Let's go through that. Let's go through these neurons, y'all. Let's talk about these neurons and how this is happening. Here's a diagram of a neuron. The neuron, you don't need to know all these terms. I really just want you to pay attention to a few things. Here's the first term. The nucleus is obviously the control center of the neuron, right? You know this from class. Dendrites. These are the connection points between neurons. Okay? Dendrites connect with one another to develop neural pathways. It's like a chain. You create chains of neurons. Dense neuron structures are called neural networks. Okay? And neural networks refer to neuroplasticity, as I brought up earlier. Someone in puberty has increased neuroplasticity, which means that the neural networks can join more readily, right? It's actually not that complex. It is if we wanted to take a super deep neuroscience dive, but I'm keeping this very similar. So we have a nucleus, we have dendrites, okay? Then we have, attached to the nucleus with the dendrites, we have this stick, okay? And the stick is called an axon. And it is a branch, so to speak, or a branch or a limb, a banshee, a branch or a long stem running from the nucleus to axon terminals. And what does it do? The axon relays electrical, I shouldn't say electronic, that refers to computers, electrical signals that cause muscles and other parts of the body to react. That was using my axons. I just send electrical signals from my brain to my hands to snap. It's amazing. Okay, so that's the axon. Around the axon is this thing called the myelin sheath. It is literally a fatty sheath that surrounds an axon and leads to electrical signal efficiency. You guys, so important. The myelin sheath serves as an insulation to the neuron, just like you would have a cord being insulated. It allows the electrical signals to move quickly and intentionally. As a quick sidebar to explain this is just an example. There was a disease, past tense, a disease called ALS. It stands for, adreno leukemopathy. ALD, not ALS. I'm so sorry. ALS is a thing. Adrenoleukodystrophy. There we go. ALD, not ALS. I'm sorry. Adrenoleukodystrophy, ALD, which was an absence, which is a genetic absence of the myelin sheath. And literally, people with this disease, with this genetic condition, could not move, could not speak, could not do anything. Why? Because they could not send signals from the brain to other parts of the body. Interestingly, it primarily affected people during puberty because puberty is when the brain is going into this hyperdevelopment mode, and the neuroplasticity, the neurogenesis was not allowing for this myelin sheath to be developed. So, primarily affected boys, by the way. Boys. So, this myelin sheath is unbelievably important. Unbelievably important. Here's what we've covered. Every person, every person during puberty begins to use fat in their body to secrete, to create and secrete hormones for brain and physical growth, rather than other reasons. I don't need to go into the pre-puberty reasons. By doing this, a person's brain becomes incredibly good at learning and thought if it is used and if it is healthy. That's where I want to go next. Brain health. You're using your brain, and your brain is healthy. How? To be healthy, a brain needs a few things. It needs proper nutrition. Specifically, it needs protein and fats. A brain does not need carbs. In fact, studies suggest that carbs actually impede brain development. This is new research, though. How recent? Great question. This is a keto thing. Okay? Keto. The keto diet comes from brain research to treat seizures. Did you guys know that? Is anyone on keto? You don't have to tell me if you're on keto. But if you've ever learned about keto, keto says have your fats and have your proteins, don't do carbs. And we use it as like a healthy thing to lose weight, to get fit. That's not why keto was developed. Keto was developed by neurologists to treat seizures. And it actually keto results in incredibly healthy brains because the brain is getting protein, it's getting fat, and it's not getting sugar. It doesn't need sugar. It doesn't need glucose, right? It needs fat. It needs protein. It doesn't need sugar, okay? It's actually, keto can be used to treat, the keto diet can be used to treat seizures, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, etc. Right? If someone is on keto, the number one thing that benefits is actually their brain health. So anyway, that's a side tangent. But we need proper nutrition. We also are going to need sleep. Why? Well, did you know sleep is hormonally crucial? Sleep is a time where hormones are balanced. Okay? When you fall asleep, your body is kicking into a mode where hormone regulation is a forefront goal. The obvious thing is that sleep regulates our melatonin. You know that, right? Melatonin and sleep go hand in hand. If you can't get to sleep, people take liquid melatonin to sleep. Okay, so sleep regulates melatonin. Melatonin leads to sleep, actually. If you are an insomniac, you likely have a melatonin shortage. Insomnia is a melatonin related issue, typically. And taking melatonin is what the doctor will prescribe for your insomnia. So that's one part. But also when you sleep, sleep is when our dopamine and serotonin stores are built. Okay? It doesn't secrete dopamine or serotonin. It is storing dopamine and serotonin. It's where they build it and store it. Okay? So in other words, and hopefully you know a little bit about dopamine and serotonin. Dopamine is the rush of joy you get when something goes really well. Serotonin is pleasantness. Serotonin is the feeling of ease and stress relief. Okay? So these are happiness chemicals. You need dopamine and serotonin to feel happy. If you aren't sleeping enough, it affects your ability to be happy. People don't talk about this enough. I know many, many people that are taking medicines to help regulate their dopamine and serotonin, and they aren't going to bed at a good time. Friends, go to bed on time. Go to bed on time. You might still need, prescription of some sort for various reasons. I'm not saying that's useless. It's not. But just like when it comes to this pubescent brain being ready to learn, but if we're not giving it what it needs to learn, it doesn't matter. In the same way, your body is going to naturally create dopamine and serotonin stores when you're sleeping. And that is crucial for you to enjoy life. Go to bed on time. So brain health. Brain health is a matter of nutrition. It's a matter of sleep. It's a matter of exercise. It's a matter of a lot of things, right? But these are the two I want to highlight: nutrition and sleep. Okay, this leads us back to our middle schooler. During puberty, nutrition and sleep are more critical than ever. They are the most critical things. If an adolescent is not getting enough sleep, and not eating healthy, they will not learn. Yes, learning is a physically related practice. Getting to sleep on time and eating well are critical to learning. Critical to learning. They're critical to feeling happy. They're critical in having hormone regulation that leads to great social environments. What do we do though? We use middle school as a newfound time of freedom, and we eat junk food and we stay up too late, and then we go to school and get in fights and wonder why. We go to school and we don't learn and we wonder why. Don't do that, friends. Get enough nutrition, get enough sleep. If you have kids and adolescents, make sure they're going to sleep. Make sure they're eating healthy. It's crucial. Now, I know this is easier said than done. I know for a fact it's easier said than done. Sometimes it's hard to get to sleep. Sometimes you can't control your kid's sleep schedule. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. But as a best practice, y'all, I'm here to tell you, if you want school to work, it's critical that people take care of themselves. Our school systems try to provide a good lunch, but we all know it's not that great. We know the school lunch is not doing us too many favors. We know middle schoolers need an afternoon snack, and they don't get it. We know middle schoolers need an orange or an apple in the afternoons. Well, do you know what's better than an orange or an apple? Something with protein or fat, right? Do you know what would really help our kids learn? And this is going to just be a hot take of the day. Bacon. Bacon has one of the best protein to fat ratios for brain health. Yep, I'm giving you permission to go eat bacon. That's what all the keto people do. Ham, chicken. Do you know what a middle schooler really needs at 2 p.m. is chicken breast? I sound like a crazy man. A handful of peanuts have the lipids and fatty acids, omega-3s. A plate of fish. A plate of fish is so good for the brain. Going to bed on time. Not playing video games all night. Not being on the phone all night. If we can preserve nutrition and sleep during puberty, we can help kids learn better. I know I sound like a lunatic saying this, but it's true. It's true. A person's brain during puberty becomes incredibly good at learning and thinking if it's used and if it's healthy. It's the job of the teacher to ensure that the learning environment is good. It's the job of each of us to ensure that we are using our brains and healthy, and that will allow our brains to be used and grow. Okay, this is a lot of info. I didn't quite finish everything I wanted to get through, but I think this info is going to be our note sheet for the day. I could record and record. I could go on for 2 hours on all this stuff, but I better end it here. I want you to fill in your blanks. Hopefully you already have them filled in. Fill them in. Turn this in. 10 points. That's the assignments for the week. Oops, what did I do? All right, there you go. Cheers. See you guys.